Hey, Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the social climbing series. In this series, I talk about good versus bad social climbing tactics, and I love doing case studies to show the exoticals what not to do because I see this trend where you got a lot of dark skinned black women saying that they should date interracially because they feel like somehow the people who created colorism are less colorist. But on TikTok, if you go and look at their experiences, they're actually admitting the hard part of interracial dating, which is that you have to literally teach him about your own blackness. You have to spend the rest of your life teaching him about your culture, about your hair, about your insecurities. And a lot of people, they don't want to listen to us, multicultural or multiracial people, because then they would have to admit that we actually do know what we're talking about. But let's get into some of these TikToks.
The dating pool, the issues around being a dark-skinned black woman are still the same.
Being in an interracial relationship, you have to have the patience of a saint.
After years of us dating, I was always being snuck into his family house, and I would be snuck out before his dad woke up at a certain time. So I would have to drive home super early in the morning before his dad found out. He kept me a secret for like 3 years.
So especially dark-skinned black women who in no way concede to European beauty standards, you better widen your pool.
My first white boyfriend always made comments about my hair, especially when I changed it. Or maybe it was just like getting it done. I was wearing weaves, and I remember the first time he had touched it and he was just like, oh. I got really insecure about it, and so I would never let him touch my hair when we were being physical or just anytime. He'd be like, I don't understand why you have to wear fake hair.
Have I been in situations with my husband where people have been overtly racist and he said nothing? Yes. Have I been in situations where people have been more subtle with the racism? Yes.
So you've got black women admitting that their non-black husbands and boyfriends not only don't defend them, but they don't even catch the racism because they grew up in these cultures. But what happened to, oh, well, I want to be a black woman living a soft life. It's not my job to educate people on racism. It's not my job to educate everybody on my blackness. Well, these women are admitting that they will literally spend the rest of their lives educating people on racism and blackness. Oh, and I thought that by getting with a non-black man, you would avoid racism and colorism because, they're not like a self-hating black man, right? So imagine going through all this just because you don't want to be single.
But I've had to teach him how to engage with racism and confront it.
Being with someone from another race or culture sometimes can be extremely exhausting.
Pause. So this woman just admitted that interracial dating for her is extremely exhausting. Yet they claim to be against struggle love. So they're going from struggle black love to struggle interracial love. And the reason this is happening is because a lot of these women, they are not multicultural. A lot of the black women, they're not very multicultural, so they don't understand the nuances of whiteness or, non-blackness. And then they're picking men who are also not multicultural, which is why you have women saying, oh, yeah, my husband didn't defend me from racists, and I had to explain to him what racism is.
Black women, this video is for you, particularly for those of you who date white men. So I was just talking to a friend about, I call them cute little white boys. And here's the thing I'm struggling with. I would love to know what your experience with this. But the problem is that I'm attracted to a lot of these cute little white boys, as I call them. I don't know why I'm calling them little. A lot of them, I guess, are like kind of small, the guys that are in my life. But when it really comes down to it, I'm like too militant for them.
He's not conditioned to confront racism, right? Because the world is made for him. He's middle class, he's white, and he's a man.
Like I just end up being too much for them.
So I've had to teach him how I live.
And I guess for some reason, like even though I'm in like social justice, far lefty circles, the white guys that I'm talking about, like I have 3 in my mind right now, literally, they aren't in those same circles.
Or I've had to confront things and situations that I don't want to confront, but people bring racism to your damn door.
They would definitely consider themselves to be left-wing or, maybe Democrats, but they wouldn't consider themselves to be of the far left. Maybe that's my problem right there. Here's the thing, like I grew up around white boys. I grew up around white people. That's how I grew up, is in like a white wealthy town. So culturally, in many ways, I understand them. I'm familiar with sort of how they grew up.
Okay, I just had to pause it right here because she says that she grew up in a white wealthy town where a lot of them are kind of left leaning or liberal leaning. The reason that they lean left are different than the reason that a lot of black women lean left. So just because a man is white and he's a Democrat, I mean, that doesn't mean you guys are going to get along because a lot of white left leaning people, they may prioritize things like climate change, education, reproductive rights. So maybe that's why they're leaning left. It's not because, oh my God, I'm so pro black and I want to date all of these women of color. And also, are you sure you would want to be that? Like, do you really want to be a man's political or social experiment? Because that's what a lot of these women are doing, even though they try to lie online and pretend like they're all dating millionaires and billionaires, when we all know that 99% of the population is not millionaires.
Have we had arguments about it? Yes.
Baby, no. White people are the creators and the sole reason, quite frankly, of why the black community is as it is today. And I wish y'all would give them the proper responsibility in that, because the way that some of y'all are talking about interracial dating, especially dating white, in these comments, is as if you have forgotten who threw the first rock. And it wasn't us.
Essentially, you're constantly trying to get your partner to understand your point of view, your way of living.
And I'm even talking about like European white boys too. I have spent a lot of time in Europe, so I also feel pretty familiar. I guess in this case I'm talking about France or Denmark, and I've dated, a Danish guy and a French guy, and so I'm familiar also with their cultures. But so far in every single case, and I'm not saying that was the only problem in my relationships with them, they were just normal relationships. But I just end up being too like woke for them in a way.
It does take a lot of patience, and you just have to trust that they will do the right thing, and you have to have just a little bit more grace.
I just had to pause it right here because when people start talking about having a little bit more grace, oftentimes what they're saying is you have to be more forgiving with them. So my question is, how many racist instances do these people have to be forgiving with in order to survive in these relationships that they pedestalize so much? Because over here in the exotical space, as people who come from multiracial backgrounds, we can tell you that the dust is everywhere. The women are becoming so desperate to be in a relationship. They're so desperate to prove their desirability that you got women on TikTok saying you have to have a little more grace and just explain racism to him. So explaining racism or allowing several instances of racist experiences with your boyfriend or his family and friends, that is, quote unquote, having grace.
Like once there's a, because with my ex-boyfriend, basically what happened is that I knew from day one that he was not at the level of anti-racist that I would need him to be.
Pause. So this woman is literally admitting, she just admitted that she knew he was a little bit racist, but she still continued.
And so I was like, maybe I should have just ruled him out then. Maybe that's what I should do. And so the question is that what I should do going forward? When I meet these cute white boys, should I just, once I see a sign that they are just not at the level of anti-racist that I need them to be, should I just end it? Like, what are you all doing? Help.
Didn't think I had to give, but you learn because they are trying, but they're trying to do something that is just not natural for them. So yes, it is exhausting, but relationships can be exhausting.
So she's admitting that she's volunteering for a relationship that's exhausting. Like she's normalizing that. They're doing all this instead of being single and being at peace. They're like, oh no, it's okay. I'll just be exhausted by his racism for the rest of my life. I'm good. Because at least I got the white man.
The more plus size and curvy a black woman is, the higher of a chance that a non-black man's attraction to her is rooted in him fetishizing her and sexualizing her.
Because essentially you're teaching your partner something they will never experience, which is racism.
And it not being a genuine attraction of who she is as a person. We also can't act like fat phobia doesn't play a role in non-black men's choice of black women. Let's keep it a bean.
Does it get exhausting? Yeah.
How many non-black men that you see dating black women are dating plus-size black women, curvaceous black women? How often do you see that versus skinnier black women? Non-black men are fully aware of how society treats us as well and use that to their advantage too. So
this was very uncomfortable. The next day I told him, like, hey, I think your dad might be racist. And he was like, yeah, you're right.
Me and my boyfriend have been together for almost 3 years. Our relationship is very healthy up until this comment, and I've always thought that I would have even hesitated to say yes if he asked me to marry him. We have arguments but have never anything too serious. Last night he blew up on me because I accidentally put a dent in his truck when pulling out of the parking lot. He ended up calling me the hard R. I'm a black female and he's white. He has never said anything racist before and has apologized already, but I'm very hurt and honestly can't stop crying. He told me that schoolwork is stressing him out and that he took it out on me in that moment because the dent in his truck was just a cherry on top of everything shitty that's been happening to him. I know that he's really truthfully sorry. He keeps on repeating it and giving me excessive amounts of affection. Why is he touching you, girl? Why is he in your face? But I don't know if this is something that I can get over easily. What? Easily? You need to... I love him so much. This really fucking sucks.
I came and we were just hanging out in the basement. Like, I was seeing his childhood through the lens of, his parents' home. And we were just hanging out when his parents got home and we came upstairs. This was really uncomfortable because when we went upstairs, his dad took one look at me and could not look at me for the rest of the night. I had no idea that his dad was racist. But even me just trying to be like, oh, like, do you like this? Or trying to have conversation with him, he would flat out ignore me.
While yes, there are black women out here who dated interracially, married interracially, and are very happy in their relationships, that is not the consistent, foolproof experience. And I think it is valid for black women to be skeptical of dating out, given the reality of the world and white supremacy. So just wanted to clear that up.
And I was like, oh, why would you put me in that situation? And he was like, well, I wasn't 100% sure, but I just wanted to see how he would react. So this was also extremely damaging to my security and self because I had this feeling like, oh, this person chose to be with me. But it was more so just testing how much they could gauge the anger that their parent would feel for them rebelling against their wants.
I was 18, he was 25. I believe he purposely sought me out because of my age. I was young, naive. How the conversation even came up is that he was trying to pressure me into having sex.
I sat on the couch with him and I remember like laying on his shoulder and I remember feeling his dad's eyes just like burning a hole in my skull. And before Christmas, he was like, Dad, I want to bring my girlfriend to our lake house with our cousins. Like, I want her to meet everyone. And his dad was like, you will not embarrass me like that.
I was not ready to have sex yet, still a virgin and all that at the time, and he was not understanding of that. He had pretended to be this kind and understanding and loving person. I did not know he was racist. He put on this kind and loving act, and then metaphorically speaking, he dropped the mask and showed me his true colors. After I would not have sex with him, excuse me, he revealed that his last 7 exes, he said he'd had 7 exes, and he revealed during the conversation that all of those exes had been black women. So at first I thought that maybe he just had a type, but no, throughout the conversation he also reveals that he actually intentionally started dating black women after high school when he had been bullied by black people and people of color, different people of color as well. He had been bullied by them, so his intention was to steal their women. Particularly, he focused on black women. He wanted to steal black women from black men because in his delusional, sick mind, for some reason, by dating black women, he was taking them away from his bullies. How does that make sense if you're only dating one person? I do not know, but in his mind, that was what was happening. And after 3 to 4 weeks, when he revealed that to me, I was like, oh no, this is over. He threatened to kill himself. I told him his life was not my responsibility and I wished him well, and I stopped talking to him.
So I remember like I had all my stuff packed and I was like laying in my bed waiting for him to give me the answer, and he calls me and he's like, I'm sorry, like you can't come. And he's like, I'm pulled over on the side of the road because I don't know what to do, if I should just turn around and go home. Like, but it's like he chose to go up north and leave me. So now my other partner was another guy that I met in college. This one was like more covert. I actually remember my ex, the first one I was just telling you guys about, flying to Australia. I was doing a study abroad there. And I knew this guy, the second one, from my class. And we would just text and stuff. And he was trying so hard to take on the role that my boyfriend at the time had. And I was just like, I just want to be friends with you. I just want to be friends with you. And it wasn't until I knew like that my first boyfriend was never going to choose, like he was never going to pick between me and his family, that I finally was like, okay, like I'm willing to give this other guy a try. Now this other guy was a lot more covert. He actually idolized Black culture. He was obsessed with Tyler the Creator. He loved like all of the fashion and the just a culture vulture. And I was going through such a stressful period because he had convinced me to move to New York with him. And I did. My dad had just bought me a Mercedes to have, and I ended up driving my car to New York. He had convinced me that because I worked in Manhattan and he worked in Brooklyn, that he should be able to drive my car. My dad also gave me like $2,000 that I could have in case of emergency. And he would constantly convince me to use the money that my dad had in savings instead of the money that he made or the money that his parents would give him. So I ran out of money, and I remember one day, like, he was driving my car home from work, and he actually ended up crashing my car. Till this day, he has not paid me a single dime for the damage that he did to my car. And his parents were like, well, insurance should cover it. He also told me that, like, because my mom lived in an apartment, that we were probably just, like, low-income people. And then he ended up, like, randomly coming down to my mom's apartment and being like, oh, wow, this is a lot better than I thought. He had actually said some things like, we live in a nice house, like, you live in an apartment. And he would also send me, like, very damaging texts, like, from 6 p.m. or whenever I'd lay my head down to, like, 6 a.m. in the morning. And they would say things like, I helped heal a Black girl. He would also do, like, really weird, abusive behaviors, and then I would, like, dissociate or detach, and then he would try to have sex with me afterwards. I remember, like, when we had to come home from New York, I lived with his family, and he didn't want to work, like, a regular job because he was working to be an artist. And I took on 2 other jobs. So I was like a yoga instructor / working at the front desk. And then I remember I was like training for a restaurant job that would work from like 5 p.m. till maybe 12 midnight. And I came home from my training that night, and he was convinced I was drunk, though I had nothing to drink. Like, I literally drove home, and he lived like 30 minutes from the job. And he like screamed at me and like just was like, you are drunk, I know you're drunk, like yelling at me. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm literally sober. I just worked. Like, I'm tired. And when I get tired, my eyes do get really small. I do look a little high, but I promise you guys, like, I was sober. And after I like literally was like, bro, like, I'm so over this, like, I'm going to leave. And he like begged me to stay. So I came back inside, and yeah, he forced himself on me, and I was like, I don't want to have sex. And he like did not care. So I just laid there, and he got so upset with me. He was, I can't even sleep next to you, and like left me in the room to just sit in my nakedness. There's so much more, and if you guys want me to do a part 2, I can. I just noticed that this is getting a little long, but yes, there is a lot that I've endured as a Black woman dating white men, and I just don't know if I will ever do it again. Unfortunately, the circumstances would have to be very different.
What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.